something that you loved to do when you were little and that you haven't done since? Can you think of stuff? I mean, I'm talking like, did you love to, I don't know, did you love to ride your bike all the time? Did you love drawing, singing, dancing? What about creative stuff? Something creative, when you were little. Kindergarten, maybe you finger painted. I don't know. The reason I ask is because we have Jack Lockhart here today. And wow. I mean, I always ask for a little bit of information. Not too much about my guests because I like to find out a lot while we're talking. But I asked for, a little info on Jack for some talking points. And he sent along his resume. And I said to him at the beginning of the podcast, I will hire you. I will hire you to do anything because he does everything. I mean, from sports, he played all kinds of sports. He paints. He is, he does all kinds of commissions. I mean, he's on every board possibly you could imagine in North Bay. He's internationally known for his painting and his artwork. It's incredible. I mean, we had the coolest talk. And one of the really cool things that he said was in some of his workshops is that he loves it when he has people who show up to his workshop and it's the first time they're picking up a brush again since they were like 3 years old. Because stuff happens, right? When you're 3, you think you can do anything. And rightly so, because a lot of us can do anything. But then you go to school, and then maybe you're taking lessons on painting, or, then you start maybe you do an exhibit somewhere, and all of a sudden you get critiques, and then you start comparing yourself to other people, which is the fastest way to kibosh any kind of creativity, because you can't be like anybody else, because you're you, and that's all you can be. We're all unique. So I just love that. That was just one tiny little part of our discussion that, Jack he just loved that people were showing up and they were crying almost in tears at the end of the workshop. Good tears, because they said, wow, like I haven't felt that free creatively since I was like in kindergarten. And it's just so lovely. And we need art in our lives. People need creativity. And it doesn't have to be art if you're creative. I mean, God, painting cars can be absolutely creative. Masonry work can be creative. Like whatever it is that just, floats your boat, gets your blood going. You know what I mean? That's creative. That's creative art. So let's get into it because it was a really cool chat. Oh, and before we do, we have to thank one of our major sponsors, North Bay Toyota. It's time to Toyota with North Bay Toyota. I am Lisa Pueve, and this is To North Bay with Love.
It's time to Toyota at North Bay Toyota. Attention truck lovers. Have you been Tundra struck? The powerful and dependable Toyota Tundra is the new definition of grit. Ask us about amazing lease deals on a 2025 Tundra Double Cab SR 4-wheel drive and experience ingenious levels of capability, technology, and refinement. Or maybe you're an SUV lover? Take advantage of a limited shipment of 2025 RAV4s and discover the perfect blend of style, comfort, and efficiency in a compact SUV that ignites your desire to explore. Right now, get excellent lease deals on the Toyota RAV4 LE all-wheel drive and more. It's time to Toyota at North Bay Toyota, 640 McEwen, or online at northbaytoyota.com for details.
As you can tell, I have all of these. Listen, I was going through your resume. I would hire you.
Thank you.
I would hire you just based on this resume. But there was so much. There was just, man, you have done so much. Not only in this community, but in many communities around the world, really. You're international. I wonder if you could tell our listeners and our watchers, though. I want to ask you about the tornado that happened with the little tree stumps.
Well, that was back.
Tell us that story.
Around 1950.
Okay.
And that's where I was. I was born in Manitoba, but I quickly moved to Fort Frances, Ontario. And that tornado came in, and of course, it knocked down a lot of buildings, a lot of boathouses and everything and that. And we had 16 Manitoba maple trees with great big butts, like big trees.
Yeah.
And I came home from school, and I took a look around, and I said, hey, these are pretty nice. The workmen had cut trees all down, cleaned it all up.
Okay.
and they left this nice smooth surface. And I said, that's perfect painting surface. So, very low to the ground, but still there. So we had a corner lot, so it was like a big L shape. And I used to say that was my first exhibit because people would be coming home from work. And I went out because I had gone out and did paintings with my crayons. I used crayons, and I did that on all 16 trees. So I had 16 pictures out there. And it was funny as anything to stand back and watch them down on their knees looking at the butt of the tree and then move on to the next tree and the next tree. But that's what happened at that time.
And how old were you then?
Well, I would have been, it was either just 48 or 49, so I'd be 9 years of age probably when that happened.
You were like knee-high to a grasshopper.
Yeah.
So what made you go out and draw? Had you drawn before that you were 9 or 10, or was this was like an epiphany and you were like, I need to draw on these stumps?
No, I was always interested in it, and I remember being in kindergarten, a senior kindergarten class, and the school had 800 kids in it. And the teacher came to me one day and said, I want to take what you're drawing there. And I said, why? Well, I want to show the rest of the school.
Oh.
I'm in senior kindergarten, but I had drawn a pictorial map of the town.
Oh, my gosh.
I had the fire station, I had the police station, I had the hospital, I had the streets and everything else. As a 6-year-old, she says, no, I want to show that around. So that was kind of funny.
Yeah, you're famous in your school already.
It was funny.
So you must have had, because in your work you do landscape, but you also do people and animals, which is that odd for an artist? Like, do usually they stick to one or the other, or?
Yeah, a lot of artists tend to become proficient in a certain area, whether it's landscapes or portraits or whatever it is. And to me, in many ways, they become stale. And the reason they become stale is because they focus only on that. Mm. Whereas with me, I'm always experimenting. And even after 60-some years in this stuff, I'm experimenting with the paint all the time.
Yeah.
To see how far I can take different things in that regard. And yet, at the same time, you became very fresh with whatever you're doing. You didn't get stagnated into one particular subject matter. And so I can sit down on my easel and I'll paint the battalion hockey player, or I'll go and paint something from Lake Nipissing. Or, as I was just saying to Ben, I just finished doing a big painting of the 150th anniversary of the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite.
Oh.
So that's for Canada.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of detail, and there's all kinds of history involved.
Right.
So lots take much more research than other paintings. But it's always making you fresh and interested in the art.
Right.
And art is kind of like an addiction. If you're into the art like that, you want to keep painting. My grandfather was an artist in Winnipeg, and that's where I had my only one art lesson in my life. When I came home as a young person on the streetcar when visiting, and I had this tray of watercolor paints. And he said, why'd you buy that? And I said, well, it looked pretty good for 30 cents or whatever it was. And he said, well, you take it back to the Hudson Bay store and give it back to them. And he says, you come back with the 3 primary colors, the red, blue, and yellow. And he says, you learn how to mix paint.
Oh, okay.
Because from that you can mix any paint, any color you want.
Okay.
And so that was but it was the best lesson too.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
But no, that's the beauty of trying to keep fresh, and at the same time, because you sell your paintings, your audience gets bigger.
Yeah.
It's very big because you're not stuck on one little theme.
Yeah, I'm looking here because there's the commissions. And I noticed too, which was really, really cool. You just mentioned there the 150th anniversary of the Supreme Council of Canada, the Scottish Rite, the North Bay Golf and Country Club, Ontario Provincial Police, Northeast Region, teacher education. So like from all walks of life, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's all different types of, and then there are quite a few. I did notice quite a few with the military. like NORAD, and then special paintings for the wing commanders. Do you do a painting for every wing commander who comes?
I think four. I did four. I think four of them.
Wow.
Over the years.
Yeah.
And Freedom of the City with North Bay and the base. That was one of the last ones I think I did when Colonel Mallow was here.
Yeah.
And I think that was the last one I did of the wing commanders. And a lot of that became because of the Honorary Colonel John Cutsey, who commissioned me to do these ones for them, because he was an honorary colonel at the time.
Right. And is that a painting of the person?
Yeah.
Like of the commander? Oh.
Yeah. And,
so do they sit for that, or do you use a photograph?
Usually I tried to get some kind of a photograph that was fairly good shape to do it.
Yeah.
Like Colonel Petrie said to me one time, he said, "Hey, Jack," he said, "you even fixed my tooth."
Oh.
I said, "Well, that was fine."
You're like, yep, that's going to cost you extra, though.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what happens. But again, there'd be something to that. It would be something from their command that they had.
Yeah.
Like what took place during their command. So either aircraft would be involved or buildings or the Mitchell Center, all kinds of things that would be in these paintings. Besides them, they'd be overlooking them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever gotten like a bad review? Like, have they ever come to you, like a self-portrait, right? Like, has anybody ever come to you and said, this doesn't look like me, or this is not my likeness? Or
No, so far I'm lucky, I guess.
I just mentioned that because I don't know if you've watched The Crown on Netflix, and it was John Lithgow who played Churchill, right? And he gets his portrait painted by this artist, and it is a true story, I think. And he came to see it, and he hated it. But the artist only painted what he saw.
That's right.
You know, and he was so insulted because he said, "This is not me. This is an old man. This is an old man." You know, and I just thought that was so interesting. I love that episode because it must be. Do you feel more pressure when you're doing either a commissioned work or certainly a portrait of somebody, or perhaps of a loved one that's no longer with them, or depending on the commission?
Yeah. The pressure is not the same as doing the big buildings or the historical things. Because you don't know how they're going to take the portrait part.
Yeah.
So it is the most difficult, to me, is doing the portraits or doing a face of the person within the painting. Because I want to make sure it's right. And you have to make sure that they look good. If the idea would be to make them look younger than they really are.
Okay.
But be true to the whole thing, too, that you're not...
Yeah, like that would be difficult.
But one story I could just mention, I used to go to the Halliburton School of the Arts. I used to teach there. And one day I was in one of the portrait artists class just to see what they were doing. And he said, "We're going to do caricatures." And so he gave us all the paper, and there were 12 really good portrait artists there. Anyway, 10 seconds, I got mine done. Others are just struggling away, trying to figure out how to make a caricature out of this person that's on the stage in front of us. He said, "Jack, you do cartoons?" I said, "No, I don't do any cartoons." He said, "Well, you're done." I said, "Well, does it look like her?" "Yeah, it sure does." He says, and you've got the nose right, you've got the eyes, and you've extended this and that, because you can really go wild with it, with the caricature.
Yeah, with a caricature,
yeah.
sure.
But the portrait artist couldn't do it because they're so tied into painting exactly what that person is.
Right.
That they couldn't anyway get in their mind, how do I take this person and put them into a caricature? So that was a funny experience to have. The portrait artists couldn't do that.
Is there a medium that you really love? I mean, I know you do many mediums. So you do oil, acrylic, watercolor.
Egg tempera.
What's that?
Egg tempera. Well, egg tempera is a case of using the egg itself. The binding from your plate when you've got bacon and eggs, and how that's hard to get off.
Yes,
well,
yes.
That's part of the binding agent. Is not the white, but the yolk, and mixed with the powdered pigment, and you mix it and you mix your own paint. And then from that, adding the water You do it very lightly, but you do it in stages as you're painting. One of the very best I've ever come across who could do egg tempera was Ken Danby. Ken Danby did fantastic paintings in egg tempera.
I don't know Ken. Who's Ken? Is he?
Ken Danby was one of the best Canadian artists who passed away quite a while ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does it produce? Like, what does it look like?
It's a very soft painting when it's finished, in the sense that you don't use a real varnish over it. You use really watered down part of the yolk to go over it as a varnish instead.
Yeah.
And it dries immediately. It's almost an instant drying thing with it.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting way of doing it. And you can get some pretty high detail in it too.
The drying part is what really scares me. I grew up in Timmins, and Timmins we had La Ronde, and La Ronde was a really cool building organization, I guess, but it offered, it was kind of like an arts building. And so you had all kinds of things in there. You had, karate on the second floor, and then you had pottery down in the basement, and you had, painting. And my brother and I were very lucky to try many different kind of artistic things. And one of them was painting, and I really loved it. And it was oil. And I stuck with it for quite a few years. And then I have painted again on my own, but I've switched to acrylic just because it's a lot easier to have at home and to clean up. And watercolor, it's just so, there's the commitment, Jack. Like once you put that paintbrush to the page, and it dries so quickly, and how do you do watercolor without screaming?
Course, yeah, I do a lot of workshops, and a lot in my gallery too, and I always say, if you come into and I do a workshop with you, I'll guarantee you'll go home with 2 or 3 paintings. Well, I've never painted before, and I said, I don't care. I said, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to do it, and it's not going to be a copied thing like some of these people that paint this now, paint that, paint this. I'd show you how to do it, and techniques and that.
Yeah.
And so everybody can paint. I say there's no person that can't paint, and they say, well, can you prove that? I said, well, when they were 3 and 4, did you ever say to a youngster in 3 and 4, can you sing? Yeah. Can you dance? Yeah. Can you paint? Oh, yeah. Can you play an instrument? Oh, yeah, I can play the guitar. Whatever they want, they can play.
Yeah.
And something happens to them after that.
Yeah.
They go to school. And then what happens the next several years? They never may pick up a brush until they're retired. Mm-hmm. Because I've had a lot like that. And they'll come to me and say, I always wanted to paint, but I never had the chance to do it.
Mm.
So,
and you're a big advocate for that, eh? To have arts in the schools and to really, because they've cut so many programs, so many art programs, and it's. I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, when I was going through school, I definitely, am very artistic myself. I mean, I sing, I act, I love that. I love creating, and I love telling stories. And, we had to take math in school, and being taught math in school, just the way that they did it, I just never got it. It was difficult for me, and then I would get frustrated, and now when I was going to audition for theater school, they recommended at one of the schools, the school I ended up going to Sheridan, they recommended that you had your preliminary rudiments from the Conservatory of Music to go in. And so we found lovely Eleanor Baumgart, who is a piano teacher in Timmins, and she helped me go through this, kind of training and just all the to know what to write on the exam. And of course, we're looking at, tones and semitones and this and that and different keys and all this kind of thing. And she said at the end of it, and I ended up taking the exam, and I did very well, and I understood it easily. And she said, well, that music is another form of math. And it never dawned on me. It just never, and I went, what? And she says, well, yeah, we're talking about a tone or a semitone up, or if you take 3 away, then it's going to be this, and you need to, and it's all counting numbers and counting. And she said, it's just a different way of learning. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, like that, if I would have had her in school or a different way of learning math, because I did do it many years later, my uncle taught me again, and I had a great time with math. Sure. And so I agree, we do need the practical things in school, but we also need the yin to the yang, right? We need the art. Yeah.
And what's going to last you after you're finished your career here is all those things you said you can do.
Yeah.
They're lifetime.
Yeah.
Whereas the math is not a lifetime, but this is a lifetime, being able to create. And an artist can create as long as they're not shaking with the hands and their eyesight is good.
Right.
They're okay. That's the important thing.
Yeah. Who do you think would be the oldest person that ever came to you, or the youngest? Like I'm just trying to think of how, the range of people that you may have taught or given a workshop to, or
right from my grandchildren, who were 3 years of age, 4 years of age. I've always taught them. Now they're in university now, but I always taught them right from the beginning, and again from the 3 primary colors, working their way up.
Okay.
And then I had a case where I was doing a workshop at the Ecology Center out of Mattawa there, and I had a group of 22, and there was a car came up from Toronto with the mother and a son and a son-in-law, a daughter-in-law. Anyway, I started the workshop on the Friday night, and I was all set to go, and I looked around, and I don't see the mother. And they said, she's out in the car. She won't come in. And I said, well, why? She said, she's afraid. She doesn't want to come in. So I went out and talked to her. And I told her about how she's going to have fun and nobody's going to judge her or anything else like that. It's just going to have a great time. So I got her in. Finally got her in. And then we had the workshop for the next, but the middle of the day on the Saturday, I looked at what she was doing and I slipped to the side and I said, I just want to see this for a minute, because there's a lot of people there.
Yeah.
And I went over, and my wife always gives me an open frame with the glass matting, everything, as if it's a finished product. And I slipped her painting into it. And I got the attention of the class. And I said, I'd just like to show you this painting. So they, oh, yeah. And then they looked at it. They said, oh, is that beautiful? And she said, who did that? And I said, you did that. And then she started to cry.
Oh, wow.
But it was fun. She was so happy.
Yeah.
Well, on the Sunday, I got them all out of there except one person. She didn't want to leave.
She didn't want to leave.
She didn't want to go back to Toronto.
Wow.
She said, I'm staying here. So and she was 89, I think, at that stage.
Wow.
So I've done quite and a lot of different types of people too.
And I will ask you this, who is easier, I would guess to say easier to maybe train or to help do something? Would it be the 3-year-old or somebody who's, 50 or 60?
It's you want to get their creative aspect out of them, kind of thing. And so there's always some who are a little slower than the others, and then there's the ones that are, because I've done right from the very, very beginners to the professional artists, and I've done the whole works. And it's the worst critic is yourself,
right?
And as a result, that's what holds a lot of things back is because of your own self.
Yeah.
And I have to keep telling classes and everything, what you do there and what I do here, we're both unique. And I said, I can't do what you're doing. You may not be able to do what I can do, but that's fine because we're all unique in this regard.
Right.
So I don't. The ones that I have the biggest problem are the ones that think they know everything.
Yeah.
And I don't like those people.
Yeah.
I know this, or they start telling me about their aunt, their uncle, or their cousin, there's paints, and I don't care about them. I'm talking about you, what you do, see?
Right.
And so they're the difficult ones. But everybody has fun. And that's number one, I say. If you're not going to have fun here, we don't need you here.
Yeah.
And so they relax.
Yeah. I just asked that because I would think that, like you said, 3 and 4 years old, and you ask them, can you do this? Can you do that? And they say, yeah, of course I can do it. Sure, I can do it. Yeah, I can do it. And then they get to school and then they start, and then that's the other thing too. It's that uniqueness, right? So then you start comparing yourself to other people and you start comparing, well, hers is better than mine and I can't do. And then that self-talk comes in of, well, and I struggle with perfectionism in a bad way, because a lot of times I don't even want to pick up a brush or I don't want to do a project, anything, because if it's not going to be perfect, why do it, right? If I can't get it right the first time, then never mind. I mean, I can't do this. I don't know how to do it, so why even start? And that is such a detriment to so many people because it's just, you don't need to be perfect. It's not about being perfect, right?
No.
Yeah.
It's just being yourself.
Yeah.
And one of the things I did with the Halliburton School of the Arts, I used to do the teaching there with watercolors, or my wife used to do the framing and that. And it was a case of, again, with them not wanting to know exactly, what are we going to do? Because I had them all ages, and I had all abilities and that kind of thing. And at the end, I would do a critique of their work. And the critique was not like a criticizing. Critique was just pointing out all the positive things of their work, not the negative things, all the positive things.
Yeah.
Sure, they might not have done something like this, what should be a good way of doing it. And it always made it so much nicer. Because I had a case in Fort Frances when I was in grade 5. The teacher came around in the art room, and he said to me, "You don't paint your trees like I do." And I said, "I don't intend to." And I was not being smart.
Yeah.
And I'm in the grade 5. I wasn't being smart of the whole thing. But it's true. I was doing my stuff, not his.
You couldn't hope to do that. Yeah.
And then years later at University of Western Ontario, I was there, and there was a knock on my door, and it was him. That teacher is a lot older now, and he came in, and we had a good laugh about it.
Sports aren't just what we do, they're who we are. Source for Sports North Bay is your advocate, your local support system, and your biggest fan. 1321 Fisher Street has grown from a place where knowledgeable experts can help you find exactly the gear you need, to the hotbed of team uniforms, apparel and fanwear, to a community stronghold for all the things that truly matter to you and your family's sports journey. We love helping you find your first pair of skates, as much as we relish supporting local leagues, teams, and athletes. Wherever your sports journey takes you, make sure you visit Source for Sports North Bay at 1321 Fisher Street so we can help you along your way.
I think it was so interesting what you said about in Haliburton, having of all ages, a classroom of all ages. And when you think about it, art or creating something is probably the only class that you could have people of all different ages, and yet the skills are exactly what they should be for each age, right? Like, it's not as if you would do a calculus class and have a 5-year-old and a 50-year-old and try and teach them the same thing, because obviously they wouldn't. But painting or any kind of painting or any kind of creativity, a 5-year-old could do it beside a 20-year-old or 50-year-old or 80-year-old, 90, which I love, because that's what an amazing way to have community come together.
Yeah, that's right.
And create.
That's right. We had a case of, was asked to do one on a Boxing Day with a family here in North Bay.
Okay.
14 people from all over the place came to be together. And the person that was involved had asked me to do this, was one of my former students. And his wife, they're both students of mine. Anyway, they said, they're coming in, and we're not telling them what we're going to do. We want to come to your place, and we want you to do a workshop. And so at the doorbell rang, went out, had a look. There's 12 of them lined up. Oh, my gosh. And they have no idea why they're there.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when one recognized me, when I had opened the door, then they all, oh, yeah, now we know what we're going to do. Well, they said they had the most fun they ever had in their life, that as a family, doing something together like that.
Right.
And sure, I worked with each one of them at their level that they were at. So if they're at this level, okay, fine. We do the higher level over here. But we did the critiques and everything as a big family, and we had a great time.
Yeah, that must have been a ball.
Yeah,
wow.
So you're right about the family aspect.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you can have a lot of. They had a lot of fun.
And speaking of family, your wife Bea is also an artist. She does beautiful, beautiful glasswork and stained glass. So was it a prerequisite that your wife be an artistic person? Did you put that on their resume? They have to be artistic.
No.
I will not date you.
No. We actually met skating.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been married over 57 years now.
Wow. Okay, so where did you meet? In Fort Frances?
At the arena.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, at the arena here?
Yeah. But she was a teacher.
Okay.
And, of course, I was involved as a teacher and principal. And, no, that's we didn't talk anything about art, that kind of stuff. But,
Who made the first move, Jack? Did you
I
talk
don't-
to her first, or did she talk to you first?
I asked her to skate. That was number one, and she said yes. That was it.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah, that was it. But she always was good at drawing.
Yeah.
And still is. She's very creative. Certainly outstanding in her framing and that kind of
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
And when I was teaching at Haliburton School one time, she took a stained glass class, and that's where she got hooked on the stained glass.
Okay.
To the point that now she has big commissions. I mean, she just did a commission in Mattawa for the Mattawa Hospital, the whole chapel she did.
I saw that, on the
she did
website.
the
It's
one
beautiful.
in Pembroke Hospital. She did the whole chapel, and loves doing the big work like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, do both of you, you have a studio? Like,
yes.
How does she blow the glass too? Like, does she?
No, she doesn't do any glass blowing. She does all the cutting.
Okay.
And she does it all by hand.
Because I don't even know how stained glass happens.
Yeah, that's what. If you were at our studio, that she could explain every little thing, the process. And
Okay.
And we've put books together on everything she's done. Every project she's done, we do a book on it. Mm-hmm. I take photographs as the stages, and I put a big book together. For one customer gets that, and we keep the other one.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Oh, what a cool gift too for the customer to get. That's really cool.
But we work as a team.
Yeah.
And it was funny that our grandson, one of the grandsons, he was really small, and he said to me one day, he says, "Hey, Grandpa," he says, "you do the paintings." I said, "Yep." and Grandy does the framing. I said, "Yes, that's right." He says, "That's good teamwork."
Aw, I love it.
That's good teamwork. Yes, that's his good teamwork.
And like, are you guys a good team? Do you think?
Oh,
Or
yes,
because
yeah.
sometimes depending on the team or the relationship, it's hard to maybe sometimes get criticism. And when I say criticism, I mean critique, like in a good way or bad way. But I don't know if you guys do that for each other. Like, would she ever kind of come to you and say, "Can you take a look at the stained glass and tell me what you think, or if it needs more?"
All the time.
Yeah. Eh?
Yeah, both
Okay.
of us. Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
We always accept what we want an honest view of what's happening, an opinion here or there. We do that all the time.
Yeah. So you must. I mean. Oh, you must respect each other so much in that regard then as
That's right.
artists, right? Because there has to be that there to really, take what she is saying or what you're saying to her, really seriously. And I love that. That's really cool. And you have a special love for one of your paintings that I was reading on the website, The Man in the Canoe.
Oh, yes, yeah.
It's beautiful. Why do you love that painting so much?
Well, it's just because first of all, it was painted from from the Orillia area on the Severn River. There's a guy paddling a canoe past us when we were with friends.
Okay.
And we were sitting there down the beach, and I said, "Oh man, there's a painting right there." But before I could get a sketchbook out I took a quick picture of him going by quickly, and then in the studio I did the painting because it kind of reminded me of all Northern Ontario and Southern Ontario, that anywhere where there's the nature and the forest and that. And it's such a tranquil scene itself that normally I would ask that person, "Can I do this painting of you?" Mm-hmm. I can't. He's running down down the river.
Excuse me.
I can't run after him. So when I did the painting, you'll notice that the paddle is up near the face. Mm-hmm. And he's got glasses on.
Yep.
It can be anybody.
Right.
So
right.
I got away from that.
Yeah.
But it's been in magazines. It's been in book covers. It's kind of traveled the world, that painting. So, and it's in our home. The original's in our home.
Yeah, your paintings are. I mean, the one that I've the things I've seen on the website are very northern, which I love. Like a lot of those trees with the long. They're not. Are they white pines? Is that what they are? They have like they're very tall, and then they have almost like the long, like they have not leaves, but what do you call them? Pine, like needles.
Yeah.
But they're white pine. Is that what's right over on the corner here? Right on the corner, there's that big house that they film Hallmark movies at. It's one of my favorite trees in North Bay, and I love it. I believe it's a white pine. I think we had a lot of those in Timmins, but yes, I love their the foliage.
They sway like this.
They do.
The winds and
yes,
it's
very northern.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And do you find that you painting for you, is it a type of meditation?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I can paint for 10, 12 hours and not even think about it.
Yeah.
The reason I can do it is my easel is such that I have a chair. The chair, I don't use a chair like this. I have a stool that is, I sit and my knees are down below and my back is straight.
Oh, okay.
And so I can sit for hours and I'm not bending. It's the bending that kills your back.
Yeah.
And so with that, I always paint with that. No matter where I go, I bring it with me.
Okay.
Because it's I don't know how they could say it, but it's just the right thing to do to have for painting. As far as I'm concerned, I could never stand and paint for hours. I wouldn't ruin my back.
Yeah. And you just, I know, isn't it interesting when because I feel that way too. I did a lot of cross stitching when I was a teenager, and that was that's when I first figured out, like, is this meditation? Like, what's going on? Because you can kind of hear everything that's going on, but you hear nothing. It just kind of comes in one ear and out the other because you're focused on what's happening in front of you. And so the world just kind of disappears. I love that.
I painted at Ontario Place as a resident artist for years down in the Ontario North Pavilion. And in the summer, you'd have, I have 6,500 a day watch me paint coming through and watch.
Wow.
And again, one time I was sitting there painting and B said, why don't you look up and see who's looking on the other side of your easel? And look up, it's my best friends.
Oh, shoot.
In North Bay, looking right at me there.
Didn't even see them.
I didn't even see them. No.
Like they don't exist.
Like you say, you're in another world.
Yeah, you're in another world.
Yeah.
You're in your world, your painting world. So what is next for you? Do you have anything exciting coming up? Any kind of commissions coming up?
Well, I was saying to Ben, the next thing I'm doing right now, of course, is the presentation of the overage paintings of the overage hockey players this Sunday at the hockey game.
Okay, tell us a little bit. So what exactly is that, just for our listeners?
About 10 years ago, I was at a Rotary Club meeting, and Stan Butler, who was the coach at the time, was speaking. And I said to Stan after, I said, Stan, I want to do a painting of Jake Smith, who is a really good goalie for us. And he said, he's not going to get drafted, but he's just a tremendous goalie. In fact, he's still playing in Europe after all those years. And Stan said, it's a great idea. And he said, but I want you to paint it on the ice, or present it to him on the ice, in the red carpet, going out in the easel and everything. And that's where it started. And I presented that to Jake about 4:30 in the afternoon game, at the end of the game. At supper time, my doorbell rang. And it was Matthew Santos, who was one of the captains of the team, saying, could you think you could do one of me too?
Oh, shoot.
And that's where it started. And then the battalion organization, who are very, very classy people, and they said, from now on, you do the paintings of the 3 overagers every year.
Wow.
And we'll present them on the ice. So that's where it all came starting.
That's a cool honor. Wow, that's really neat.
And they all are action scenes, like they're skating.
Yeah.
And the kids like it, I remember Riley grew 6'8", on skates are 7 feet high, and he skates over and he's looking at it, he says, hey man, he says, that's just awesome.
Oh wow.
That's what you want to hear.
Yeah.
And they'll say, well, my parents are going to keep it for me right now because I don't have a place, but they know they will bring back a lot of memories in North Bay.
Absolutely.
And their playing career. And
wow, that's a beautiful thing to get. Yeah, that's cool.
So that's how it started.
Yeah. Do you have a painting that is not finished, that you've never been able to finish?
Yeah, some of them, you just put them away for a while and maybe bring them back out later because something about it is maybe not to your liking yet. I actually did a workshop at the Halberton School of the Arts because I had people asking me, just like you were saying, about watercolor is difficult. And I don't know what to do with it. I said, okay, next summer I'm coming back and we're doing a workshop on how to fix this watercolor and make it a good watercolor. Oh, that'd be great. They said, what are you going to call your workshop? I said, fix your mess.
Fix your mess.
They laughed. It's not classy enough for this organization. So,
fix your mess.
So we ended up putting in, it actually was acrylics. We had acrylics rescued, renewed, and something else.
Realized or something. Yeah. Okay.
So, and they couldn't get over it. They brought their old paintings that they had, And I show them, here's a technique you can do to fix this or do this. And, oh, man, they produce beautiful work.
Yeah. And sometimes you just need a different set of eyes to look at it, or a different, one little suggestion, and then all of a sudden it comes back. Yeah.
Yeah. And you should always take a look at your painting. You're sitting there, the mirror is over here. Look at it in the mirror.
Oh, okay.
Not what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Take it and turn it upside down. And take a look at it upside down, and you see the values of colors and the amount of color and the shading and that kind of thing. And you're not blinded by the twigs or the branches or that. You don't see that because it's upside down.
Yeah.
Do all kinds of things that can, and I put it on the computer sometimes. I'll take a picture of it. And then on the computer, I see things I never even thought I had painted.
Wow.
Not a thing.
Yeah.
So
just from a different medium, eh?
You gotta look
different
at
way to look at it. Yeah.
Different eyes.
Yeah. Just seeing if there's anything. So we talked about yeah. And then the one last thing. Okay, so you're not only like creative on canvases, but you're also creative on the ice as a curler. Are you the skip?
Yeah, I was a skip. Yeah.
I've always wanted to be the skip just because it sounds cool. Yeah. Not that I really know anything about curling, but how long have you curled?
Well, I curled up until the COVID hit. And at that point, I had played 65 straight years. Oh, my word. Played every year. And we were very fortunate. We went to a couple of Canadian championships, and we did won a lot of bonspiels, a lot of competitions.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to get in the Sports Hall of Fame because of that. So
that's so cool.
It was always a key thing. And we sponsored a bonspiel here for 25 years, and family, like a family thing, yes, we had a family of curlers. And our youngest son, Tyler, who's 50 now, but he went to 3 Canadian junior championships in a row.
Oh, wow.
And nobody else's. His team did that here from North Bay, and they're the only ones around that have done that.
That's awesome.
So
wow,
far.
That's amazing.
And my wife played in the Ontario Ladies Championships at curling.
Shoot.
And then she turned around and got into it, being in the administrative side of refereeing and that type of thing.
Okay.
And she did it right up to World Junior Championships.
Wow.
So our grandchildren, yeah, they all went curling.
They all love it, eh? Yeah. And did I read that you is it you put out the first rock, or you throw the first rock at the bonspiel here?
Well, they had the Canadian Mixed Championship was held here.
Okay. Yes.
And they asked me to throw the first ceremonial rock.
That's so cool. I saw you there without
which
even
is
seeing
fun.
you.
So
yeah.
you throw the rock, and of course you got 1,000 people watching you.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure you put on the button.
And did you?
Yeah. But
of course, that's what Jack does.
And then the second one I did was for the Northern Ontario Championship, and in that provincial championship, Bobby Ray, Ben knows Bobby. He said, "We'll get 4 people out, 3 others with you out there to sweep, and your wife will hold the broom in the house, holding it." And I had a junior curler, a real young fellow. He's one of my sweepers. And then another person who was about 17, 18, older one in the junior curling. And they swept. And so it was really a nice little age group that was involved. But that was nice to do, too.
Again, community, eh? Yeah, just a really cool, yeah.
You can't beat sports. You can't beat art and music. And
you can't.
We
need it.
You asked me earlier about art in the schools. And I remember having a good talk one time with Ken Danby, and we said, how did they record history? And back years and years ago, they did it through art. Mm-hmm. And we're still to this day looking at hieroglyphics and looking at things that were produced.
That's right.
And we're getting the history out of that. Mm-hmm. So to not have that as something that kids can grow up with, and it's too bad. Yeah.
Wow. Well, we are certainly lucky here in North Bay to have you as part of our community.
Oh, thank you.
Wow, there's so many contributions and just like providing us with your beautiful creative art.
Oh, thank you.
So beautiful. And Bea too, with her lovely commissions of her stained glass. And this was a really great chat. Thank you so much for coming on. And
very, very much appreciated, Lisa.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to come down and take a workshop, a watercolor workshop.
I'll give you a private lesson.
Be scared from it.
I'll give you a private lesson.
All right. And for sure I'm going to have a painting at the end of it.
Guaranteed.
I don't know, Jack. I don't know. See, I'm going to have to put that like perfectionism little voice away.
Oh, that'll be guaranteed.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That'd be awesome. Incredible. I could have sat and talked with Jack like forever. We should have just gotten, I don't know what he drinks. We could have had like some tea, some coffee. Well, Jack Daniels, I don't know. Could have been like Jack and Jack, you know what I mean? We could have gone on for like hours. So interesting just talking about his life and everything that he's done so far and what an amazing part of our community he is. I love that piece too about, that he gave that workshop to that family. And 2 of his former students came up with their family around Christmas, and they just showed up there with like 14 people. And they said it was the most fun they've had as a family. And of course, there was all different age groups, right? They had like grandkids right up to grandparents and everyone in between. So, that's the other thing I love about being creative is that you can do it with all age groups because everybody can be creative. And I totally agree with Jack when he says everybody can paint. Absolutely. So if you want to see more of Jack's work or you want to see some of Jack's work, head to his website. But he also has a studio right here in town. So I'm sure if you contacted him, he'd probably give you a tour. And speaking of that, he's going to give Ben and me a tour. Yeah. Ben and I are going to go. Maybe sometime in the summer, I think. Yeah, in the summer, we said. We're going to go over there and I don't know. Jack says he can have me do a painting, a watercolor painting. Watercolor scares me to death. The commitment, man, it's real. It's for reals. Because once the paint is on there, it dries instantly. Anyway, I'm scared, but I would try it. And I think he would be the perfect person to teach me to do that. He is the master. So that'd be really fun. Hey, why don't you head over to our website, northbayecho.ca. You can check out all the podcasts that are available on our network, the Echo Network, and you can sign up for the newsletter too if you want. Go Essentials. I think that's it. I'm going to go home because I'm looking at some yummy food that was delivered here for me. Until next time, much love, North Bay.